So welcome back. Good afternoon. We are in the fourth day, second session. So already the resource person is there in our meeting. So we can start our session. So we are having with us Dr. Tanushree Debroy. She is assistant professor in the Department of Statistics, Assam University. She is working in the field of time series analysis and distribution theory. This has involved development and application of statistical methods in estimation, properties, and applications in the field of weather. She has contributed to the development of statistical models in the field of distribution theory also. She has completed a master's and PhD in statistics from Guwahati University. Her recent researches has been covered in many reputed national and international journals. Dr. Debroy's research has been funded earlier by Department of Science and Technology under the Women Scientist Scheme. Today, our topic of deliberation shall be factor analysis and its requirement in different research designs, its interpretation with example. Madam, I welcome you to our FDP. The session is yours.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank Dr. Debjyoti Chaudhary, coordinator of this event, for allowing me to take a session in this program. I guess we have participants, friends from various departments apart from statistics. So I shall try to be delivering my lecture in that way so that it reaches out to every non-statisticians in the peer group. So as Dr. Debjyoti have told that my topic of deliberation today would be on factor analysis. So I shall be delivering the lecture on this particular topic. Mainly I shall be explaining you what is factor analysis. Then we will be discussing certain examples based on factor analysis. Then how to tackle the problem of factor analysis in the statistical package using the SPSS software. And certainly we have questions. You all will be having many questions related to my topic of discussion, and you are free to ask as and when you have any problems at any part of my slide which I will be discussing. So to start, is the screen visible?
Yes, madam. Like, madam, how you would like to be the interaction? Like, should they ask the question in chat box, or it should be open so that they can ask directly to you?
Okay, in the chat box they can ask. Okay,
yeah,
so
like, will you be able to see the chat box simultaneously?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
I will be checking the chat box simultaneously so that it will be feasible for me also.
Okay, fine.
As I have told you, the topic of discussion of today is based on factor analysis. So we shall be discussing what is factor analysis and when it is useful to use factor analysis, and what are the examples we can go for tackling factor analysis. This is basically a multivariate technique, okay, that can be used to quantify and measure things that cannot be directly measured. You all might be knowing the things that cannot be directly measured are called as the latent characteristics or latent variables. Okay, and this latent characteristics or latent variable plays a very crucial role in the factor analysis or the analysis we are interested in dealing with. While measuring such latent characteristics, we take the help of several auxiliary variables. What are these auxiliary variables? The auxiliary variables are the variables about which information is available prior to data collection. Okay, and these auxiliary variable are very much needed in terms of crop estimation and so on. The auxiliary variable plays a very crucial part because if you will be getting the final hand data to estimate that part, it will be costly. It will be very much costly. So what we can do, we can take the help of like crops which are grown in the paddy field. And taking this as an auxiliary variable, we can try to estimate the yield of your dry jute fiber, suppose. So this auxiliary variable also plays a very important role. And the factor analysis, what it does, it helps us to group these variables into cluster of interrelated variables. As I have told you, that the factor analysis is a data reduction technique. Now we might be having many variables at our hand. Like we have a set of questionnaire, and suppose each of the question in the our question represents a particular variable. So we are what happens is that we have a huge bundle of variables in our hand, and tackling this huge bundle of variables sometimes becomes quite difficult. So the factor analysis will be allowing us to reduce our data by grouping this into clusters, and these clusters will be in terms of like factors. So basically it is a data reduction technique also. Now what happens here is that the variables here are divided into several subgroups such that the variables within each groups are highly correlated with each other. Now, I will be explaining you with an example later on, but suppose we have many variables in our hand, and the variables within these subgroups are, what happens is that they are highly correlated to each other, but the variables of one group do not correlate with variables outside the group. Like we have different subgroups. Okay, in our questions we have set of one particular variables which are might be similar, like anxiety, depression, fear. All this, if you consider it as a variable, all these are same type of variables. Okay, and if you compare like if you take example of variables like fear of computers, fear of SPSS, like all this will be can be categorized into another subgroups. The variables within each groups are highly correlated, but the variables outside that groups are not correlated. Okay. Now, if we consider each subgroup as a variable, so what we are doing is now is that we are not considering the one by one variable. Suppose we have a set of 20 questions, and this 20 question represents 20 variables. Now what we will be doing is that we will be dividing this 20 variables. Maybe some sort of variables may have similar properties, so they may form one group. Another variables, they may combine together, and they may be forming another group. Okay, so if we consider each subgroup as a variable, then it will be leading to data reduction with a smaller number of variables which can now be considered. Okay, now now the main question, how factor analysis will be helping us. In the social sciences, we often try to measure things that cannot directly be measured. As I have told you earlier, the things that cannot directly measure are the latent variables. Now let us take an example into consideration so that it will be more clear in your part. We might consider the management researchers or psychologists. They might be interested in measuring burnout. Okay, burnout which is when someone who has been working very hard on a project. Maybe you are working on a particular project, maybe you are writing a book, or you have given some tasks to complete this within a stipulated time, and you are completely burnout, which for a prolonged period of time, because maybe you may be devoid of motivation, inspiration, and wants to repeatedly your headbutt their computers, screaming, please Mike, unlock the door. You cannot measure, so you cannot, what you can do is that you cannot measure the burnout directly. It has many different phases. So however, what you can do is that you can measure different aspects of burnout, like you can get some idea of motivation, stress level, okay, whether the person has any new ideas, and so on. Having done this, it would be helpful to know whether these differences really do reflect a single variable, okay, In another way, are these different variables driven by the same underlying variable? Like here you can see we have set of 3 questions. How satisfied are you with our product, or you do recommend our product to a friend or family member, or how likely are you to purchase our product in the future? So all these set of questions, but we can consider it as 3 variables. Now you want only one variable, okay, to represent the satisfaction score. So these are set of 3 variables which are representing the customer satisfaction score, but you want to represent it in the form of only one variable. One option would be to average the 3 question responses. Okay, you can do the you can take the average, like you will be getting a response from this particular question, again you will be getting a response from this particular question, similarly with the third one. So one thing you can do is that you can take a average of these 3 responses. And another option would be to create a factor dependent variable. So how can you do this? This can be done by the running the principal component analysis. Okay. So, but here we are not interested with the principal component analysis. We are interested with the our factor analysis. What is basically the difference between your factor analysis and the principal component analysis? Like the factor analysis takes into account the mainly, it will be taking out all the maximum variances, okay, but the it will in the case of your factor analysis, you will be getting a unique variance, okay, and can take into account that particular case. I think we have let me see, the chat box is okay, it is not related to our topic of discussion. So let us consider a research example, okay, so that it would be more clear on your part to get some idea on the factor analysis. Like you have like a researchers might be having a problem. Okay, any one of you have any problem up till this part? Yes, you can share with me if you want to share up till this part. Okay, so if you are not having any questions, so we will be moving on to the discussion on factor. So far as I was discussing, like before moving on to our this one research example, let me give you a glance on what do you mean by the term factor. Now, if you measure several variables, okay, or ask someone several questions about themselves, now the correlation between each pair of variables can be arranged in what is known as R matrix. I think you all you all have been supplied the data set. I will be explaining you the data set a bit later on. But first of all, I want to give you explain you the R matrix. Okay, so let me explain to you all this. By the time, what you can do is that you can open your data set, which consists of this. I'm explaining you the case of factor, okay, nothing more than this here. So that is why I need the data, this part. You all can proceed with this part later on. Now see, what we have done this, these are all variables, okay, these are all set of questions, and these all are my variables of interest. Now, if you measure several variables or ask someone several questions about themselves, the correlation between each pair of variables. See, the correlation between these two pair will be 1 because correlation within this will always be 1. This is the correlation between this variable and this particular variable. So the correlation between each pair of variable can be arranged in what is known as R matrix. So this is known as capital R, okay, not small r. This is known as your R matrix. So what is an R matrix? An R matrix is just a correlation matrix. Correlation matrix means what? A table of correlation coefficients between variables. So what is a correlation matrix? This is a table of correlation coefficients between the variables. Now the diagonal elements of an R matrix. See, here are the diagonal elements of the R matrix. If you can see, these are the diagonal elements of the R matrix. These are all ones. Why? Because each variable will correlate perfectly with itself. See, statistics makes me cry is correlating with statistics makes me cry. So this will be correlating perfectly with itself. So this is having the value 1. Now the off diagonal elements, what are they? The off diagonal elements are the correlation coefficient between the, what? Between the pairs of variables. So this and this. So this is between the correlation coefficient between the pairs of variables. Now what happens is that by reducing a data set from a group of interrelated variables. So these are all interrelated variables. What are these variables? I will be explaining you because I wanted you to explain what is an R matrix. So I have explained you, given you this particular example or shown you the particular table. So what happens is that by reducing a data set from a group of interrelated variables to a smaller set of factor analysis achieves what? It achieves parsimony by explaining the maximum amount of common variance in a correlation matrix. Using what? Using the smallest number of explanatory constructs. While you will be doing the analysis, you will be get to know in detail. Okay. Now, there are numerous examples of the use of factor analysis in social sciences. You can ask me what are the uses of social sciences. So there are numerous use. What the psychologists do, they use the factor analysis to assess personality traits. Okay. Although factor analysis is probably most famous for being adopted by psychologists, its use is probably mostly not restricted to what? Restricted to measuring dimensions of personality. Economists, for example, might use factor analysis to see whether productivity, profits, and workforce can be reduced down to an underlying dimension of company's growth. Okay, so this was all about what is factor analysis, when to use factor analysis, and basically what are the examples we can go for doing factor analysis. So all this was based on this. By this time, I will be requesting everyone to open the your data set what has been supplied to you. I shall be giving you 1 to 2 minutes time because the research example is based on this particular data set, and we shall be later on we shall be doing one by one the factor analysis part in SPSS. So I'm requesting everyone to open the data set. So have you are you done with this? Okay, so you all have opened the data set. So let me also before I will proceed, let me move on to the next slide. So what is, let me start with this. Okay, what is the use of factor analysis? One of the use of factor analysis is to develop questionnaire. Why? After all, you want to measure an ability or trait, or you need to ensure that the question asked relate to the construct that you intend to measure. Now, many a times we have noticed that a lot of students become very stressed about SPSS. Okay, therefore, this particular example or the particular questionnaire is taken from from the author's book, Discovering Statistics Using SPSS. So this basically this questionnaire set is also from this part. The author has taken the data himself, and we are just discussing this particular problem here. So what? So I will be now telling the author. The author, who is the author here? The author here is Andy Phil. So what the author tried to design? The author tried to design a questionnaire to measure the trait that he termed as SPSS anxiety. Okay, because why? Because many a times we notice a lot of students becoming very stressed about SPSS. So the author Andy Phil tried to measure the SPSS anxiety. So he devised a questionnaire to measure various aspects of students' anxiety towards learning SPSS. He generated questions based on interviews. Okay, with anxious and non-anxious students, and came up with 23 possible questions to include. See, you can go here. These are a set of 23 questions. Each question was a statement followed by a 5-point Likert scale. So this is basically a question or a statement, you can say, followed by a 5-point Likert scale. That is Likert scale ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Strongly disagree, disagree. It is neither agreeing nor disagreeing. Disagreeing. This is agreed. This is strongly agreed. Now the questionnaire was designed to predict how anxious a given individual would be about learning how to use SPSS. Okay, so he wanted to know whether anxiety about SPSS could be broken down into specific form of anxiety. In other words, what latent variables? See here, the term latent is coming. What we have discussed in the while starting our discussion for today. Okay, so he wanted to know whether anxiety about SPSS could be broken down into specific forms of anxiety. In other words, what latent variables contribute to anxiety about SPSS? So with the help getting from some of his friends, he collected around 2,571 completed questionnaire. That is, it was a set of questions containing 23 statements in a Likert scale ranging from 1 to 5, and he collected around 2,571 completed questionnaires. Then the first thing to note is that, let me open the dataset file. Now what we can see here is that the first thing we can note here is that each question is represented by a different column. See, this is a question. Basically, the label here is representing a question, and the question is a particular statement, and the values are ranging from 1 to 5, and n is not answer. If somebody don't like to answer, so 9 we have marked as not answered. So the first thing what we are noticing here is that the data are or the variables are stored in columns. The second thing we can notice is here is that there are 23 variables. See, there are 23 variables. All are labeled between from Q1 to Q23, and that each has a label indicating the question. So this is a label. It indicates the question. Statistics, whether statistics makes you cry, or my friends will think I'm stupid for not being able to cope with SPSS, Or this can be another question. My friends are better at SPSS than I am. Or if I'm good at statistics, my friends will think I am a nerd. So all these are a set of questions, and it is based on a 5-point Likert scale, and anyone is giving the answer based on this. Now we want to know whether the questions what we have prepared, this question is reliable or not. So can any one of you tell me how can we what to do now? We have prepared the now set of questions, and now we want to do factor analysis. But before going for factor analysis, what we should check? Can any one of you tell me? You can write in the chat box. Yes, the book title and author is given in my last slide. Okay, you can go through this book. This soft copy is also available of that book, so it is there. Yes, the reliability of the data, Cronbach alpha test. Yes, we will be checking for this. So let me move on to this. So here we have a now we will be assessing our data set by going to what? By going to the label scale. What we will be doing now? We will be going and doing the reliability analysis. Okay, so we will be doing the reliability analysis of the set of questions we have prepared. So we check on all the questions, that is set of 23 questions, and move into the right hand side of the window. Okay, and just click on OK. So here you are getting how many responses you have got. I have told you you have got a response of around 2571 completed questionnaires. Okay, and the value of Cronbach alpha. Cronbach alpha, what is the value? It is 0.754. Now what does this Cronbach alpha? What is this task? Okay, in our analysis. So this Cronbach alpha is a measure of internal consistency. That is, what is internal consistency? That is how closely related a set of items are as a group. Okay. So these are all a set of items. This is one set of item. If you go to the shop, suppose you buy different things. Now, for like you want to prepare the meal, if you want to prepare the meal, you needing dal, chawal, and all. So you can group this into one category. Okay. Now you will be going to the market, and also you can buy vegetables and so. So this can be kept into another group. Okay. Now what is the purpose of this Cronbach alpha? It is a measure of internal consistency. It checks how closely related a set of items are as a group. Now, it is considered to be a measure of scale reliability. A high value of alpha does not imply that the measure is unidimensional. Okay, this is the value of alpha. It does not imply that the this is unidimensional. Now the value of Cronbach alpha lies between -infinity to 1. So as a rule of thumb, the values of alpha greater than 0.7 indicates what? It indicates internal homogeneity amongst the member of the scale. Okay, and what is the value we have got here? We have got the value of Cronbach alpha is 0.754. So there is our set of question is reliable, and that means we can carry on our analysis for the set of questions we have prepared to run for factor analysis. That is, we want to reduce our set of variables by using the data reduction technique, and factor analysis is a method of data reduction technique. Okay. Now, then what we will be doing is that yes, this all will be given in the slide, and this all will be supplied to you. See, we have done how we have done the reliability analysis check. we have gone to scale, reliability analysis, then we have shipped all the variables here, and just we have clicked OK. Okay, don't worry for the slides, you will be getting it later. So we have got the value of Cronbach's alpha is 0.754. That means, which means our set of question we have prepared are reliable to perform the analysis. Now, as our data set is reliable, now what we can do is that we can take the case into account of factor analysis. That is, now we can run factor analysis with our data set. So let us proceed on with this and start one by one. Okay. So now what we do here is that you assess the main dialog box. It is the main dialog box. You assess the main dialog box and select analyze. Then you go to dimension reduction. Okay, dimension reduction, and then you will be finding three buttons. One button is marked as factor, then correspondence analysis, and then optimal scaling. So what we are interested in? We are interested in factor. So just click on factor. So you will be getting a window like this when you will be clicking on the term factor. You will be getting this particular window. Okay. Now, what you will be doing this all are the set of 23 variables what I have, and I want to run factor analysis. Okay. So what I will be first, let me introduce all this. The term descriptive first. Okay. So let me shift all these variables here and just click on descriptives. And when I click on descriptive, you can see there are a lot of you can see options are there: univariate descriptives, initial solution, coefficient, significance level, determinant, anti-image, reproduce, inverse. We don't need so many, but let me discuss with you all this. Then, because we ultimately we need to know the necessity of all this options, or one thing is that we might be not needing this for this particular analysis, but with your data set you might be needing this particular option. So it is better to know all the options. So when you click on this the descriptive button, another window, a small window opens, and in this small windows you can see there are different terms marked as univariate descriptives, initial solution, up to KMO and Bartlett's test of sphericity. So what is the function of univariate descriptive? This univariate descriptives option provide means and standard deviation for each variables. Okay, that is, we have a set of 23 variables. So for all this set of 23 variables, you will be getting the means and standard deviation. And most of the other option, that is all this maximum options relate to what? Relate to the correlation matrix of the variables, the R matrix, what we have what I have defined earlier. I have explained you the R matrix. So we can get the R matrix also by checking on this particular correlation matrix. Okay, the significance level option is there. So what is the purpose of the significance level option? It will produce a matrix indicating the significance value of each correlation in the R matrix. So you will be getting a R matrix, and this significance level will be producing what? It will be producing the significance value of each correlation in the R matrix. Okay. And another thing, after that you will be getting the option determinant. So what is the purpose of determinant? The determinant of a matrix, it is an important diagnostic tool. For what? In factor analysis. Why? But the question of what it is not easy to answer, because it is a mathematical definition, and most of us are not mathematicians. Okay, so this is somewhat a bit difficult. So we will be, that is why the KMO and Bartlett's test of sphericity is there, which will be what it is. This is a this is known as what Kaiser-Meyer, Kaiser-Meyer, K-I-S-E-R, Kaiser-Meyer Olkin measure of sampling adequacy. Okay, and Bartlett's test of sphericity. So what does what does this basically does is that it will basically test you tell you whether you can go for running the factor analysis or not. Okay, this is a statistics that is only this part. I'm telling about only the KMO, not about the Bartlett's test. Okay, what does this do? This is a statistics that indicate the KMO, Kaiser-Meyer Olkin measure of sampling adequacy, the full form. It is a statistics that indicates the proportion of variance in your variables. So we have here a set of 23 variables, and it indicates the proportion of variance in that 23 variables, which might be caused by underlying factors. There are maybe many underlying factors. So it explains the proportion of variance in the variables. Now against the KMO test, you will be getting a value. Okay, you will be just get to see when we press continue and just click on OK, then you will be getting to see the value. High values closer to 1 will generally indicate that a factor analysis may be useful with your data. Okay, and what is this test? We have discussed up till this part, KMO. Okay, and what is the Bartlett's test of sphericity? What does it indicate? It tests the hypothesis that your correlation matrix is an identity matrix. Why we should test the hypothesis that the correlation matrix is an identity matrix? Because it would indicate that your variables are unrelated. Okay, and therefore unsuitable for structure detection. What is our rule? We always try to reject our null hypothesis. So we have tested the hypothesis that the correlation matrix is an identity matrix, and our wish will be that our hypothesis is rejected so that we can perform the our factor analysis with our set of data what we have. Okay, small values you will be getting to see that small values less than 0.05, that is values less than 0.05 of the significance level indicate what? Indicate that a factor analysis may be useful with our data. So now let us go through the results and see. Okay, continue. Okay, so see, these are the descriptive statistics. As they have told you, what is the purpose of the descriptive statistics? It gives the mean and standard deviations. This is the R matrix, what we have discussed earlier. Okay, the diagonal elements are all one because there is a high correlation, because the variables are correlating with itself. So high correlation will be there. So always the values will be 1. And this is the off diagonal matrix. It will be getting a certain values. And then the significance value of each of the levels. It is highly significant. All the values you can see. Now, what we are interested is mainly from this descriptive part is that we are interested in the KMO and Bartlett's test, because it will suggest whether with our particular data set we can perform our analysis or not. Okay, so what we have here, the KMO value, what we have 0.9. And what does the high value of KMO suggest? It suggests that a factor analysis may be useful with our particular data set. And what is the Bartlett's test of sphericity significance level? It is highly significant, 0.000. So it is having values less than 0.5. So that means the result of the value is you can perform our factor analysis with this particular data set. This all we are not interested, and it is if you are interested in detailed discussion, then you can go through this. Okay, otherwise mainly we are interested in the KMO and Bartlett's test of sphericity. Now let us again return to our data set again. We are not finished, okay, with the data with our analysis part. We have completed only the descriptive portion. Then we need to check on extraction part. Why we need to check the extraction part? Because not all factors are retained in an analysis, and there is debate over the criteria whether a factor is statistically important or not. So to see this, we need the factor extraction. Okay, and this can be done. Here we what happens is that if you click on this extraction box, then a small window will open. Okay, and in this small window open, you will be getting the method. The method will be principal components. You will be getting the correlation matrix, covariance matrix. We are interested mainly in the scree plot. Okay, because it will be giving us an idea how many factors to retain and not retain. So basically we are interested in this also. Scree plot. Yeah, up till this continue. Let me, I will explain you one by one, and then we don't need now this scree plot. And then you click on continue, and then you just click on OK. See, from here we have these values. So these are the 4 components we have extracted. Okay, they are explaining 50.32% of the variation in our data set. What are the function of eigenvalues? The eigenvalues associated with the variate. There are many variates. So the eigenvalues associated with the variate indicate what? It indicates the substantial importance of that factor. Therefore, it seems logical that we should retain only factors with large eigenvalues. Okay, only those mainly above 1, the values which are there, we will be taking into account. So here we can see we have 4 factors which are having values greater than 1, 4 variables greater than 1. Okay, and they are explaining about 50.3 total. It is the cumulative percentage. So in a total, these 4 factors are explaining how many percentage? 50.32%. So how do you decide whether or not an eigenvalue is large enough to represent a meaningful factor? Because you can say this 0.988 is also large, or this 0.895 is also large. So how do we decide whether or not to represent a meaningful factor? Now, a researcher named Kettle, what he advocated a plot, a graph of each eigenvalues. You can see the scree plot. This is the graph of each eigenvalues in the y-axis, and these are the factors. We have how many factors? Altogether, we have 23 factors. Okay, against the factor with which it is associated against x-axis. So in the x-axis, we have the factors, and in the y-axis, we have the eigenvalues. This graph is known as scree plot. Why it is known as scree plot? Because it looks like a rock face with a pile of debris or scree at the bottom. You can see it looks like a pile of scree or debris at the bottom. So it is named as scree plot. Now it is possible to obtain as many factors as there are variables, and that each has an associated eigenvalue. Now by graphing the eigenvalues with the importance of each factor becomes apparent. Okay. typically there will be a few factors with quite high eigenvalues. You can see there are only few factors, okay, with high eigenvalues. So this graph has a very characteristic shape. There is a sharp declining trend. You can see there is a sharp descent in the curve followed by a tailing off. So it is tailing off, sharp declining of the graph with a tailing off. Okay. Now the researcher Cattell, what he argued that the cutoff point for selecting factor should be at the point of inflection of this curve. Now let me go to this PowerPoint slide so that the point of inflection will be more clear to you. So as I was telling you, the researcher named Cattell argued that the cutoff point for selecting factors should be at the point of inflection of this curve. And this is the point of inflection. Now, how you decide the point of inflection? The point of inflection is where the slope of the line changes dramatically. So see, here it has dropped, okay, and again it has risen here over here. Again it has rise to a certain extent. Again there is a declining. So see, these are the 2 points. You can see this is the point of inflection, or where the slope of the line changes dramatically. Okay. Therefore, if you use the scree plot to determine how many factors are retained, you may have to rerun the analysis specifying the SPSS extracts that the number of factors you require. Okay. So how many factors are retained? If you want to know, you have to rerun the this part again and again, specifying how many number of factors you require. Now, okay, if there is any question. What is the highest maximum value we can take as your 1, okay, and minimum it is 0. So high values close to 1. Now I have told you this is the point of inflection part, and this part is telling you how many factors you are going to retain from your for the factor analysis. Now, once these factors have been extracted, so what is the purpose? Here we have extracted the factors over here. Okay. Once these factors have been extracted, now what is our purpose? Our purpose is to calculate to what degree of variables load into these factors. Okay. That is what? That is, we want to calculate the loading of the variable on each factor. Now, generally, you will find that most variables have high loadings on the most important factor and small loadings on all other factors. This characteristics makes interpretation difficult. Okay, so all this sort of characteristics makes our interpretation difficult, and also it becomes clumsy to understand. Okay, what factor to retain and which factor will be retained and which factor will not be retained. And so a technique called factor rotation is used. So next you will be get to see there is a term marked as rotation. So that is why a technique named as factor rotation is used. Why it is used? It is used to discriminate between factors. If a factor is a classification axis, okay, along which variables can be plotted, then factor rotation effectively rotates. Now let us go to our data set so that it will be more clear in your part. Yes, why eigenvalues have been taken as 1. Yes, you will be getting to see it now. Let us go to analysis. Again, our analysis factor analysis is not yet finished because I'm explaining you the terms one by one. So I'm explaining each step, doing the analysis of each step one, and then I'm explaining you the next one. So this is the rotation we are interested. Now, when you click on rotation, these options will be there. Okay, none, Quantimax, Varimax, Equimax, Direct, Oblimin, Promax is there. Now, the SPSS has 3 orthogonal rotation. What are the 3 orthogonal rotations here? These are the Varimax, these are the Quantimax, and the Equimax. And what are the methods? And the 2 methods of oblique rotations are Direct, Oblimin, and Promax. Now, these methods differ in how they rotate the factors. The factors will be rotating as the name suggests. So these factors differ in how they rotate the factors, and therefore the resulting output depends on which method you select. So it depends on the generally output depends on which method you select. Every method will be giving you a different output. Okay. What is the Quantimax? What does it mainly do? This Quantimax rotation attempts to maximize the spread of factors. So what it does, it tries to maximize the spread of factor loadings for a variable across all factors. Okay. Therefore, interpreting variables becomes easier. Because why? Because it tries to maximize the spread of factor loadings. However, because of this, it results in lots of variables loading highly onto a single variable. So you will be getting to see, if you perform this Quantimax rotation, what is the function of this? The function of this is to maximize the spread of factors. So as this is maximizing the spread of factors, so what it does is that it results in getting lots of variables loading into a single factors. So Varimax is this particular option Varimax, it is the opposite. What does it do? It attempts to maximize the dispersion of loadings within factors. So what does it Quantimax does? Quantimax maximize the spread of factors. And what does Varimax done? Varimax attempts to maximize the dispersion of loadings within factors. Okay. Therefore, it tries to what? Therefore, it tries to load a smaller number of variables highly onto each factor, resulting in more interpretable cluster of factors. And then we move on to Equimax. What is the if you because in one day to know factor analysis is not possible. You have to deal with it day by day. Then and if you do various if you do this factor analysis with different data set, then your confusion will be more clear. Okay, so just to make you familiar with the factor analysis and the terms what is there to run it in SPSS, I'm discussing it. Next, your part will be to take a problem based on the data set, and you run the factor analysis in SPSS, and then you try the different options, and then you get to see what are the different outputs you have got specifically, and then which method is giving you the best idea. But many researchers, what they have told is that they have told that we should probably select Varimax. Why? Because it is a good general approach that simplifies the interpretation of factors. Because it simplifies the interpretation of factors. So not only one researcher, many researchers have told that if it is our first time analysis, we should be going for Varimax because it simplifies our interpretation of factors. Okay. Now, this was all about our orthogonal rotation. Now, oblique rotation, we have 2 cases, Direct, Oblimin, and Promax. Now, the case with oblique rotation is more complex than what? Orthogonal rotation. So, why? Because correlation between factors is permitted here. Okay, that is why it is more complex. In the case of direct complement, that is, in the case of direct complement, you can see the value of delta in SPSS is given as 0. And this ensures that high correlation between factors is not allowed. So in SPSS, it is given as 0. You can keep values from 0 up to 0.8. Why? Then you can expect highly correlated factors. Okay. And if you set delta to less than 0 down to -8, then you can expect less correlated factors. So it is mainly depend on you. If there is a correlation, if you know in your data set that there is a high correlation between factors, then only you should be going for the direct oblimin. Okay. Otherwise, you should be going for this, our simple case, you should be going for Verimax. If you know from your data set that direct oblimin, that not direct oblimin, that high correlation is present in your, that some sort of correlation is present in the factors, so then at that time you should be going for direct oblimin. Now, one last one is left, it is Promax. So Promax, it is a faster procedure designed for very large data set. So if it is a very, if you have a very large data set, it is a very fast procedure. Now, in theory, the exact choice of rotation will be depending largely on whether or not you think, because it is mainly depending on you, on whether or not you think that the underlying factors should be related. If your factors are related only, then you should be going for your direct oblimin or Promax. If they are not related, many researchers have suggested that you should be going for Verimax. Okay, so you will be just checking, clicking on Verimax and then check on rotated solution. If you click none, it will be coming as none. You will not be selecting rotation, but we are interested, so that is why as it is our first time analysis, we will be checking on Verimax. Okay, and then here rotated solution, we don't need here plots. If you need the plots, you can also check on plots, and then you click on continue, and let us see what rotation we have got. Okay, this will not be coming directly. Let me, I will explain you later on. Let me perform this set of analysis first. Otherwise, we will not be getting the accurate results. Okay, that is course, display, factor, coefficient matrix, continue, then options, sorted by size. Okay, otherwise we will be not getting the accurate result. I will be explaining you this later on. Then just click on OK. We have finished explaining up to script plot. We don't need this component matrix. We need this rotated component matrix. We are very interested in the rotated component matrix. Now you can see this one in the extraction part, we have seen that four factors have been extracted. Because why? Because 50.32% of the total variation of our data set have been explained in with the help of these four factors. So that is why four terms are there: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now see, corresponding to this, we will be getting this particular values. Total we have a set of 23 questions, and corresponding to 23 questions we will be getting the values. We will be getting this rotated component matrix values 0.8, 0.6, 0.6. These are all less values. So most of the researchers they have told is that keep don't keep values which are less than 0.4. Okay, many of researchers, you can go through the literature survey of the rotated component matrix and then get into details of this. So most of the researchers, what they have told is that don't keep values less than 0.4. So that is why you can see corresponding to the first factors, these are the values. Okay, I have a table here which will be from which you will be getting to know more. See, rotated component matrix, all this I have interpreted it in a tabular form. Okay, see, if these all values are there which have been interpreted in the slide in a tabular form. So these are the four components are there, and these are the values 0.8, 0.684, 0.647. So we are taking values not less than 0.4. So we are considering this number of values. Now let us go to the second component. Second component is giving us values 0.677 up to 0.429. We are not again taking values less than 0.4. Now let us go to the next slide, because the third and fourth component is there in the next slide. Okay, so you can see in the third component that the values only this three number of values are there 0.833, and similarly you can go through this set of variables. Okay, or the statements. Okay, what are the statements attached to it in the component 3 is there, and these all are there in the last component, that is in the number fourth component, it is there. Okay, let us see. It should be greater than 0.7. Okay, then then you will be you can run the factor analysis. And what is Equimax? Equimax, I think I have told you. Oh, I have not told you. No. Okay, I think you have explained this part. Let me go to the this part. Otherwise, I will be missing out this particular question. Another question we have: what is the upper percentage of explained variable to get? See, it is depending on your this one. What is your data set? Is there any relationship in the variables? It is fully it differs from one data set to another data set. Okay, to get the major factors, because you will be a good statistician only you be only if you can tackle your problem very well. So depending this, there is no researcher have given you what will be the upper percentage. Mainly 0.4 they have told. Okay, upper it may go on, but this one they have not told, or I have not got any research. Might be I can check and tell you, but for now the upper percentage it can go on, and these are very may 100%. Yes, maybe it may be 100%, but then you will be, what will be the purpose of then factor analysis? Because what is the purpose of factor analysis? The purpose of factor analysis is mainly to reduce our set of data, because we have a set of 23 questions, and this set of 23 question is our set of 23 variables, and this we want to reduce it into factors. Okay, what into factors? Like we want to define we want to divide into subgroups. Within the subgroups they are correlated with each other, but one subgroup is not related with the other subgroup. So now you got to see, if there is relationship with the other subgroup, then you have to proceed on with Promax or the oblique rotation and all. Okay. Okay, someone asked me about Equimax. So let me go to that part again and tell you what is Equimax. So this Varimax, Quantimax, and Equimax are the types of orthogonal rotation. I think I have explained you Quantimax and Varimax. What is Equimax? Equimax is a hybrid of the other two. So now we are in hybrid mode. Why? Because sometimes we are going to the university and delivering our lecture online only, or the meeting sometimes we are having offline. The meetings and all sometimes we are having offline, but most of the classes we are still having offline, so we are in hybrid mode. So this Equimax is a hybrid of the other two, that is Quantimax and Varimax. These are the types of orthogonal rotation, and it is reported to behave fairly erratically. Okay, that is why no one is suggesting you to go for Equimax, because what you will be doing, get to do by going to the hybrid of this Quantimax and Varimax. Okay, you will be getting a some sort of mixture of because what does Quantimax give you? Quantimax maximizes the spread of factors, and what does this Varimax does? Varimax maximizes the dispersion of loadings within factors. So it is the this hybrid of these two. Now you can see the hybrid mode is sometimes good and sometimes it is not running well. So better to omit this Equimax. If you are going for orthogonal rotation, always it is better to use, by most of the researchers, by maximum researchers, 85% researchers have told to you, or you, if you are a first time you are doing analysis, they suggest you to go for Varimax. Now this is the type of your oblique rotation. So when they have told you to when the researchers have told you to oblique rotation, it is more complex because correlation between factors is permitted here. So now see, I have a set of 23 variables, and these variables are divided into subgroups, I have told you, and the one subgroup, within subgroups the variables are correlated. uh, Outside the subgroups they are not correlated. But what happens if there is a relation outside the group? So at that time you have to you cannot perform this with the case of orthogonal rotation. We have to go for direct obliquing. Okay. Then yes, we were here. So this all were the results. They have told you, many researchers have proposed that we should take values not less than 0.4. So we have got this values. We have got corresponding 4 components, and corresponding to against all the variables we have got the values. So let us see. See now these variables, there were 23 variables. Now these 23 variables, in the first component, how many number of variables are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so please keep it in please keep it please remember 7 are there. Okay, and in second one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There is first one 7, second one 8, then 1, 2, 3. 3 is there, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So altogether we have a set of 23 questions completed. Now, as 4 factors have been extracted by using the rotation technique and the extraction method, by using the factor analysis method, so we can name these 4 factors. Okay, they were named as different variable. Now we can name these 4 factors. So the first factor is named as pair of computers. See, I have little experience of computers. All these are related with computers. I have little experience of computers. SPSS always crashes when I try to use it. I worry that I will cause irreparable damage because of my incompetence with computers. All computers hate me. Computers have mind of their own and deliberately go wrong whenever you use them. Then another one is their computers are useful only for playing games. Computers are out to get with me. Now see the next question. I cannot sleep for thoughts of even eigenvectors. Now see, this question is somewhat different than this one. So that is why it has been, and the analysis also tells you, not only the question, the analysis too tells you that these questions may be related with each other, but this is not related, because I can sleep for thought of eigenvectors is not related that I have little experience of computers, because computers have nothing to do with eigenvectors. If you have problem with mathematics, then you will be because eigenvectors are mathematical things are there, then you will be finding it somewhat difficulty. So you can see there is no relation, and so that is why we have selected what we have selected Verimax. We have not gone for any other rotational technique. That is, we have not gone for the your oblique rotation. Okay, we have stick to orthogonal rotation. Now see, so the first factor is another question. This pair of computers is we have got this number of variables. Then see, this is the pair of statistics, because see, you can go through the questions. See the second component, the values not less than 0.4. What are the values? 0.67, 77, 0.661 up to 0.429. Negative values we can get, it doesn't matter. Okay, but we are taking values not less than 0.4. So what does this I can sleep thought of even vectors? So you can consider to be a statistical or mathematical problem. Normal distribution, something related with statistics. Standard deviation, also something related with statistics. Split try to tell you that SPSS makes statistics easier, so also related with statistics. Pearsonian correlation coefficient, also related with statistics. Central tendency, related with statistics. Statistics makes me cry. Whether it makes you cry? Yes, apart from the this one, whether it makes you cry. Yes, any one of you, whether statistics makes you cry? No, yes, no. It should not make you cry, because it allows you to solve the raw data in your hand. It gives you a solution to your problem. Okay, so you should not be worried about statistics. It should not make you cry. If you go on practicing it, it will be quite familiar to you. I don't understand statistics. So jokes apart, now we are returning back to our problem. That is, this set of variables can be renamed as sphere of statistics. So this is considered as another type of factor, another factor. We are clubbing it together, and it is known as your pair of statistics. See, so this number of variables have been reduced to this factor. This number of variables have reduced to this factor. So see, this is the your benefit of factor analysis. Now, pair of mathematics also we have. I have never been good at mathematics. I slip into a coma whenever I see an equation. Okay, equation also related with mathematics. I did badly at mathematics at school. So let us go back to our third component. See, the values not less than 0.4. These are the values. So see, it is related somewhat with mathematics. Equation is also somewhat related with mathematics, again related with mathematics. So these all variables are subgrouped into a single factor. Okay, and this factor is known as tier of mathematics. Now another the last component is left here, and we have how many cases, how many variables? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So let us go through the question and see what does it suggest. My friends are better at statistics than me. My friends are better at SPSS than I am. If I'm good at statistics, my friends will think I'm a nerd. My friends will think I'm stupid for not being able to cope with SPSS. Everybody looks at me when I use SPSS. So it's something like group related, because someone else is thinking about you. Your group members are, you all are participant friends. Okay, so somebody one is thinking, if you now you might be having whether I should ask this question to the resource person or not. what does my peer group will be thinking about me, or should I the resource person has asked me one question, whether I should respond to her question, what others will think. So it is a sort of peer problem. Okay, so this is peer group evaluation. You can name these variables, we can name it as peer group evaluation. My friends are better at statistics than me. My friends are better at SPSS than I am. If I'm good at statistics, my friends will think I am a nerd. My friends will think I'm stupid for not being able to cope with SPSS, and everybody looks at me when I use SPSS. Okay. So all these are grouped into these factors. Yes, we have a set of questions. It is there is echo problem to everyone.
No, ma'am. Sound is fine. I think he is having network problem.
Okay, okay. Okay, one of the question I was getting here. What if only one statement is below 0.4? Shall we drop the statement from the from that questionnaire? See, this will allow you, when you perform the, like what we have done, we have performed the KMO Olkin measure of sampling, KMO test. Okay, what I have done, because I need to show you factor analysis within only 1.5 hours or 2 hours. So this is not possible in a single day to run, frankly, to learn factor analysis. Okay, you need a practice of many hours. So what you can do is this: for all the variables, you can perform the KMO test. Okay, the book is there. The book I have mentioned is there. It tells you properly, okay, how to you can go through. If you are really interested in factor analysis, you should definitely study the book by Andy Phil. It gives you a solution, it gives the answer to your every problem. Okay, so don't drop below 0.4. If you get, you will be not dropping here. Okay, you will be dropping when, if you will be getting the KMO value, what if you will be getting the KMO value less than your somewhat. If you are getting high values of KMO, then your variables are good enough to perform the test. Okay, but if you are at that time only taking the variables into consideration, like performing the KMO test with every variable, you can check that whether you should drop that variables or not. Yes, multicollinearity you should check. Okay, if you not check multicollinearity, see, many factors are there. This mainly this problem is there because multicollinearity, if it is there in your data, then it will be not multilinear regression before computer factor analysis. So these are something different. Multilinear regression you don't need to do. Yeah, if you want to, why we are going for factor analysis, you should have a definite question or definite question frame in your mind. Why we perform factor analysis? We perform factor analysis why? It is a data reduction technique. If you have lesser number of variables in your hand, why you need to go run factor analysis? You don't need to run factor analysis. If you have many questions in your hand, and if you want to reduce the data set, then only it is suitable to go for factor analysis. Otherwise, if your analysis suggests that you can run with the help of multilinear regression, then you can go. If you want to reduce your data hand, or if you want to reduce it into smaller number of factors, then only you can you should go for factor analysis. Because many a times in the ecology people, the biotechnologist people, they have a many number of variables. Okay, but if you go through their data set in details, you will be seeing that one variable is related to the other variable, and but a set of variables is related, then the other set of variables are there which are not related. Okay, so that is why at that time, the running of factor analysis becomes very important, because there you need to reduce your number of variables. They have many number of variables which become clumsy, because you need to get the result of this number of variables, and it becomes tiresome too. So that is why the factor analysis will help in that particular case. Okay. Now, yes, now the last portion, we have run the factor analysis. Yes, I have run the factor analysis, but have not explained you, I think, that one. After factor rotation, I have told you I will be explaining it later on, no? Yes. Yes, I have explained you up to rotation, the scores and options were left. Okay, so let us go to scores. And there are two components, or you can say the named as save as variables, and the other is named as display factor score coefficient matrix. Okay, what is generally the purpose of this score? The factor score dialog box can be accessed as you have accessed. This option allows you what? These options allows you to save factor scores for each case in the data editor. So if you want to save factor score for number of variables, suppose you have 100 variables, okay, and if you want to save factor score for each case, then this scores becomes very important. These options become very important. If you don't need the factor score for every case in your for your analysis in the data editor, then no need to perform this particular thing. You can skip and go to options. Okay. Now these scores can then be used for further analysis. You can, after getting the results, what you can do is that if you are very interested in factor analysis, or you want to study more and more in detail, what you can do is that with the help of this score, you can simply it will be helping you to identify group of participants who score highly or particular factors. Okay, there are three methods of obtaining the scores, and there were Anderson-Rubin method, the regression methods. All of this we are not discussing it in detail here. So see, save as variables, if I mark, so regression method is there, Bartlett score is there, the Anderson-Rubin score is there. Okay, so you can select anything. If correlation between factors are acceptable, that is, if correlation between factors are there, factor scores are there, then you can go for the regression method. Okay. If you want to ensure the factor scores are uncorrelated, if your factor scores are uncorrelated, then you can go to the Anderson-Rubin method. And when can you go to the regression method? If correlation between factor scores are acceptable. Okay, it is if there is a sort of correlation between the factor score and these are acceptable, this is acceptable on your part or from the part of your research, then you can choose the regression method. And if there is and if the factor scores are uncorrelated, then you can choose the Anderson-Rubin method, and then click on continue, and then okay. Then the last option, we have performed all this. Okay, because I needed to get the result of one table, so that is why I performed all this and have ultimately got the final result. But I should let you know what this all options means. Okay, then the last and the final option dialog box can be obtained by clicking on option. Okay, now the missing data, if you have missing data, because missing data creates a huge problem for our analysis. Okay, so for factor analysis or for any analysis, the missing data creates a maximum problem. Okay, so SPSS, what it does, it uses the mean as an estimate. Okay, then you can do this by exclude cases list wise, exclude cases if there are missing values. Because I had no missing values, exclude case list wise, replace with mean. Okay, so it will be replacing with mean. Then exclude cases list wise, in which case any participant with missing data for any this one variable is excluded. Okay, then this one let me tell you from before, we perform this missing values. Why? Because many a times your data, if you are working with a huge response, then ultimately you will be many a times you will be getting no response, so or missing response. Okay, so this will be creating a problem in your part. So this options will be helping you. So in the option case, there is a term named missing values. Okay, here, and under this you can get to see there are 3 bullets which are marked as exclude cases list wise, then one is marked as exclude cases pair wise, and another one is marked as replace with mean. If missing data random, you might consider missing data for any variable is excluded. Okay, or you might consider excluding spaces. Now the spaces allows you to either exclude cases list wise. Exclude cases list wise, what does mean? It means in which case any participant with missing data for any variable is excluded. Okay, then it will be rectifying this. Okay, or to exclude cases pairwise, then the second option is exclude cases pairwise. What is the function of this? In which case a participant's data are excluded from calculation. Okay, for which we have got a something missing interpretation, so that is exclude cases pairwise. And ultimately what we have, replace with mean. And if you have any missing data, and if you click this option, it will be replacing with the mean. And then you will be getting sorted by size. So sorted by size will be by size wise. Okay, we will be getting from small to large or from large to small. So ultimately, and then you click OK after final, and then you will be getting the whole summary of your factor analysis. So whole summary we have got. Let me see question. If we have 15 statements, then we should we use factor analysis? Any assumptions regarding number of statements? Okay, it is, see, if you want to reduce, if you want to go with your, because ultimately reducing the number of statements, what you will be doing, you will be losing information about the variable which might be of interest in later case. Okay, so if 15 is minimum. Now if you want to go for factor analysis, there are many assumptions. You can go through the assumptions also. Regarding number of statements, we don't have any this one. We don't have any assumptions regarding number of statements, that if this is more than this, this is more than this. It is fully based on your research problem. It is based on what you want to try to find out from your research, what you want to find out from your research, or if there is a especially when we go for factor analysis, if there is a correlation between the subgroups, and if there is no correlation with the other groups, then we go for factor analysis. Okay, so at that time also you can go for, so it is mainly dependent on you whether you want to get to know the result of each variable, or each variable is important in your part. Or now you may have a set of questions which are different in a way, like one is related with statistics, one is related with ecology, one is related with management, one is related with psychology. Then these are as many factors. Okay, different factors, or you will be getting now under statistics. If you ask how many students are there in statistics, how many have passed out in the last 5 years, and then you have a management problem, how many students are there studying management, how many students have passed out in from the management course during this sem. So specifically these are all similar type of variables, so then you can club it. But only if you have a set of questions like which is only related with statistics, only related with psychology, only related with ecology, then no need of considering it into factor analysis. We can consider it into without taking into account the factor analysis, because at that time we need the information about every variable of interest that we are dealing with. Okay. Now, now the last part of our analysis is that every analysis should be reported. If you will not be report our analysis, then our running of analysis is meaningless. Okay, so this is the way of particularly way of reporting our analysis. It can be written in a precise way, or it can be written in different ways. But for the purpose of the presentation, I have combined it into a single in a single site. First, what we have done, we have performed the reliability analysis check, because we want to see whether the questions we have in our hand are reliable to perform the analysis or not. So first conclusion will be based on the reliability check. So we get the conclusion is the reliability of the scale was checked using Cronbach alpha, and the value was found to be 0.754, implying what? Implying that the scale is reliable. Another conclusion is that you have got with eigenvalues. Analysis was run to obtain eigenvalues for each component in the data. And how many components you have got then? You have got 4 components. So 4 components had eigenvalues over 1, and in combination they had explained your 50.32% of the variation. Thus 4 factors were retained. Then what? The entire set of variables were grouped into 4 categories, namely what? Fear of computers, then you have fear of statistics, then fear of fear of mathematics, and fear group evaluation. Okay, and I have taken the help of this book, Discovering Statistics Using SPSS by Andy Phil. This is a very, very good book, and I will ask you to definitely, if you have the hard copy of the book, it is well enough. If you don't have the hard copy also, you can get a soft copy from the internet. I do have a soft copy. If you want to get, I can share with the coordinator, and accordingly we can share with you. Okay, any questions? So thanks everyone for listening me for so long.
Okay, participants, you can ask questions directly by unmuting.
Ma'am, thank you very much, ma'am, Dr. Tanushree Debroy, for your deliberations and giving a detailed note on this factor analysis and all. And it was the presentation was very energetic, and it was throughout the session. It was the same energy level. Thanks a lot, and your the screen sharing and your everything was very much clearly visible. And I hope the participants had a very good understanding of this factor analysis. Any questions, please? You can post it if you are not able to ask. You can post it in the chat box also.
See, if these are two. One questions have been
Yes.
one questions have been posted that exploratory factor analysis and correspondence factor analysis. So these are basically 2 type of factor analysis. So it is depending on your research problem. It is depending on your type of data, what you have, what you need to do. These are not different. Basically, you don't need to choose among one of them. It is depending on your research problem and the type of data you have.
Ma'am, for example, if we have a scaled data, like we have a predefined scale in a questionnaire, we have 15 to 30 statements in a questionnaire, whether we have to check again, like we have to confirm the questionnaire, or we can go for exploratory factor analysis or confirmatory factor analysis, ma'am.
First of all, you have to go for the reliability analysis check, because to perform the factor analysis anyway, you have to check the your reliability of the data you have in your at your hand. So the
Okay.
reliability check of your data is very important. Then only you can perform the analysis.
Okay. For continuing in structural equation modeling, like in MOS or in PLS, what we have to do, ma'am? Like EFA or CFA, ma'am?
EFA you can do.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Any other questions, participants? You can post it also. Any other questions, please?
See, because many of us are facing difficulty. Yes, why eigenvalues are taken? Because eigenvalues will be because many researchers, it is not I have taken into account that the values greater than 1. Many researchers have done different researchers have come to the conclusion that the values greater than 1 can be considered to be taken into account and be considered as a factor. Okay, so in our table, yes, somewhat here you can let me go somewhat here. Yes, you can see the values. These are greater than 1. Okay, these are told by researchers, not by me, that I will be taking the values by 1, by 0, not me. The values, they were by researchers, and the scree plot. And the scree plot is very important also. Okay, the scree plot will be allowing us to finalize, because the eigenvalues, we may not be always mathematically strong enough to understand it. So to properly understand, we need the help of a diagram, and the scree plot is a fantastically drawn diagram, which is explaining our how many factors should be extracted from our data set sufficiently well.
Okay. Ma'am, there is a question from Sonam. What is the difference between EFA and CFA?
Yes, what is the difference between EFA and CFA? Can anyone of you tell me? If you have any knowledge, I can want to because I have discussed in detail. Can anyone of you tell me what is the difference between EFA and
Ma'am,
CFA?
I think CFA means confirmatory factor analysis, and it is basically to confirm that the factors that have been extracted, they are sufficient or no. And basically do it with the help of AMOS, where we make those same and then it's a better way of representing.
Yes, someone wants to tell the difference again.
Yes, madam. First we consider a statement, then we confirm the factor.
Yes.
Whereas in a confirmatory factor analysis, first we consider the factor, then we develop a statement.
Statement, yes.
That is the basic difference.
Basically
usually researcher, there is a difference.
Yes.
Thank you.
Usually researcher decides. That is why I have told you, usually researcher decide what to do, what type of analysis they want to do.
Any motions, please? Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am, for this wonderful session.
Thank you so much for your energy too, for listening me for around 2 hours. You can definitely, if you have this book, you can definitely go through this book, Discovering Statistics Using SPSS. There are many, not only factor analysis will be there, the author and it will have covered non-parametric, parametric, and various types of tests. Also statistics also have described in detail. You can go through this book. This is a very good book if you want to really learn SPSS.
Yes, thanks for suggesting. I hope all the researchers also, the participants have taken a note of it. Thank you. Now I request Mr. Deepjyoti Karmakar to give the vote of thanks for this second session. Mr. Deepjyoti, over to you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for this opportunity. A very good afternoon to respected resource person, Dr. Tanushree Debroy, ma'am. I am Debojyoti Karmakar, Research Scholar, Department of Business Administration, Assam University, Silchar. I, on behalf of all the participants and the Department of Business Administration, Assam University, would like to convey sincere thanks and heartfelt gratitude for this wonderful session and sharing your valuable knowledge to us, ma'am. So, useful using examples, then how factor analysis can help us, then R matrix, uses of factor analysis in social sciences, then reliability test using SPSS, then factor analysis in descriptives, extraction, plot. Then you have explained so nicely that rotation, what is rotation, then quatrimax, varimax, equimax, then direct oblique promax. You have explained so nicely and explained also the rotated component matrix. And lastly, you have also explained how to report the result of the factor analysis so nicely, ma'am. So overall, it's a great session, ma'am, for us, as you have cleared many doubts, and in fact we came to know many new things, which is very helpful in our research journey, ma'am. So, ma'am, thank you once again for this excellent session, and we are looking forward more such sessions from your end. So, ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I have given my mail ID. If you have any, you might be having doubts because a doubt is not clear in a day and in a single session. So if you have any doubts, you can take a note of my mail ID and you can mail me without any hesitation.
Yes, I'm sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The participants, all of us now will break for the lunch, and we'll be back for the next session by 3 p.m. Thank you, everyone.